A pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. And yours truly, Coles Brown. The guest menu for today is Aussie Clark. He will be joining us on the show in perhaps later in the first hour. Here's what's trending. A wild ending between Southern University and Grambling State in men's basketball. We'll give you all the details. NCAA approves paying women's tournament teams. And number 3, it's official. The 2025 SWAC Baseball Tournament moves to Birmingham. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Special guest, Aussie Clark, in hour number 1. We'll take a quick break, and we come back. It'll be more of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Welcome back. Good morning, everybody, to the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. The panel has joined us, Willa Brown and Charles Edmond. Good morning.
Mm-hmm. Good morning.
Well, a wild ending between Southern University and Grambling State men's basketball this past Saturday. Just really wild, Charles. But the Jaguars win in conference play, and also on the women's side, they were able to win as well. For the men, still undefeated, but going to get everybody's best shot. And the women with one loss in conference play. Charles, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the rest of this conference plays out.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's going to be intriguing this weekend. We're about a third of the way through conference play as of right now, and there's some tantalizing games to say the least. As you mentioned, Southern University, got it done against Grambling. What a tough call for Coach Jackson against Southern University in the final second, and he was obviously livid, obviously not happy. With 6 or 7 free throws towards the end of the game, that's tough. It's a big rivalry game. Grambling trying to get off the deck. Great crowd at the activity center. But I tell you what, Carlos, I think this race is gonna be a pretty tight race going down the stretch here. I think that game woke up Grambling, and we'll see if Grambling gets off the deck, because I think if they won that game, and I had them to win that game, by the way, but it was a tough call on the road, rivalry game. You're trying to win, and so that's kind of the way it goes, unfortunately. But Grambling, I think you're going to hear from them. But Southern University, clearly a team that's.
Well, I'll say this. There was some perhaps controversy, but I was there. I was right close to the action. It was a foul.
Yeah.
It was a foul. They were calling the game pretty tight. And, some of my colleagues, they say something always strange happens at Baton Rouge. Coach Pettaway, that's not true. That's not true. Because I can look at the field of the free throw attempts, okay, pretty even. We have the opposite view. Quote unquote, you're talking about home cooking. What is that? That never happens in Baton Rouge, no matter whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. I know referees are human. And let me say this. Coach Jackson is a tremendous coach. He just lost it. He was wrong. And the game itself was back and forth. Southern had a slight lead throughout the whole game on the men's side. And you knew Grambling State was going to make a run. It's a rivalry game. And they tied it 60-60. A guy hits a three-pointer who I believe had only hit one the whole game. So Southern gets the last crack at the basket. They drive to the basket. They make the referee make the call. Now, some people say, well, you don't really see referees making a call that late in the game. I beg to differ. It was a foul. And, of course, Coach Jackson loses it. He causes his team to have to give up free throws at Southern University. Then, again, I know it's a heated moment. The emotions got the best of him. Then we look, and the player comes up, a Grambling player comes up to the Southern player, and is still kind of talking trash. So, hey, not going to turn down free throws, right, Coach Pettaway?
Not at all. But we as coaches, sometimes we get a little too involved in the game. Me personally, I've only been thrown out of one game, but it was a non-conference game. I've gotten a tech before in the game, but I knew once I got that first tech that I could not afford to get a second tech. And, if a game's close like that, that it could cost you the ball game. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times, sometimes we as coaches, we might get a tech to show our team that we're supporting them and we're behind them. Mm-hmm. We try to use it as a motivational tool. Or in some cases, if we do feel like the officiating is one-sided, then, we will take that tech. But I'm not going to get thrown out of a game, especially a conference game. And, that's just unfortunate. And that happens on the road. I've got plenty of stories about the SWAC and road games now. I've lost by one. One team shot 28 free throws. I shot 3, but I only lost by 1 point. You can say what you want to, and then we as coaches, we have recourse. What you do is you Everything's on film. All you do is get it together. You send it into the conference office, or to the supervisor of officials. And I mean, it's not going to get you a win, but at least you will make those officials held accountable, that kind of thing. So there's recourse. I've never known them to go back and give a team a win, but they take care of that officiating crew.
And you know, some people were saying, did Coach Jackson bump the official? I can't really remember seeing that, but I know he was very animated. And then I put myself in his shoes. To be brutally honest, I probably would have gotten tossed just like he did, and then Southern University police had to escort him off the court. Then there was a fan. All of a sudden, he appeared on the court. He was out of there. I thought they were going to be tossing everybody, but you know, the people around me were saying, you know what? The minute after the game was over, boy, it's going to be interesting when Southern returns the trip to Grambling.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I may have to make that one, Wheeler.
Hey, but look, that's when James Brown comes out of the closet, Carlos. James Brown. If you walk in the air, whenever you walked in the air more, if you heard James Brown playing, big payback, get ready.
Yeah.
It was on. I got my fans, I got my team. I'm ready to roll, and we ready. We have never lost a James Brown game.
Wow.
I think the players were too afraid. They didn't know what I would do if we lost. So they played.
I got a question, Coach Pettaway. Then the heckler game did James Brown playing in Elmore on that day? I was trying to remember.
No, we didn't. We did not play that. I just told you. Now, I never lost a James Brown game. Now. I didn't have to do that with Coach Whitney. But I'm serious. We get caught up in the games as coaches, and sometimes we lose it, but not to that point. But I will tell you this: I think it's automatic when you get ejected. The police have to come get you. When I got thrown out at Alabama, they came and escorted me off the court.
And it's for everybody's. It's for everybody's well-being, not just the coach's well-being.
And to be honest, now at Alabama,
the fans are all into it, and they're upset, and and the coach is still upset, so he's liable to say anything. And if somebody in the stands say something derogative to him,
they
and
can
I'm
get them
close
talk.
by, I might want to take a step or two in that direction, that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's necessary, I think.
Right. And Wheeler, you'll love this one, Wheeler. Now, I earned the first tech in the first half against Alabama. And they warned us. They said, we don't want to hear you all talking about 3 seconds. Because we kept hollering 3 seconds because they kept letting the kids hanging in the lane, right, from Alabama. Mm-hmm. So my assistant, who's sitting 2 people down from me, hollered 3 seconds. And they turned around and gave the tech to the bench, and that was my second technical. Now, needless to say, the next day in our staff meeting, I got him. I got him real good. But no, I'm serious. They told us, hey, we're tired of hearing that. Now, I don't want to hear it again. And he made the mistake of saying it again, and because his back was to me, they thought it came from me, and they gave me the tech. We tried to explain. He even admitted, no, that wasn't him. I said it. But they still gave the tech to me, and I had to lead the game. I had to lead the premises. I had to go to the locker room. Yep.
Well, that is a very interesting story, and Coach Pettaway being brutally honest. I'm looking. Well, let me give you the scores. Last Saturday, nice crowds there. 4,124 for the women. Southern women 59-53 over Grambling State. Let's see. Let's just look at the free throws. Grambling State for the game, 12 of 19. Let's see. Southern free throws, 8 of 14.
For the game?
Yeah. That's let me make sure. Free throw, 8 of 14, 12 of 19. So Grambling State got more free throw attempts. Just stay with me. My colleagues, I love them to death. I don't know if I have to call out names, but boy, they were giving it to me. Strange things happen in Baton Rouge. Okay. On the men's side, Southern 67-60. Let's look at the free throws here. Grambling State 18 of 21. Southern University 14 of 22. I present the evidence. I shoot down that theory. Look at the free throw. They were even, basically. Yeah. So, again, it was a foul. When I tell you I was just eye level right there, because I always sit right behind the basket, like to the left on an angle. And so, he drove that ball to the basket, and hey, he put the position on the referee to make the call. Now, guess what, Coach Pettaway? If he wouldn't have made that call, then you'd have had another type of emotion going on.
Yep.
So, but for Southern, still undefeated in the conference, but boy, I tell you, the pressure is mounting. Pressure's mounting. You're undefeated, but you can't take anything for granted. You got to come out and prove every day. But for Southern University, once again, that second unit came in. That second unit, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The second unit came on and provided energy, and then Coach Johnson started mixing the first unit with the second unit, just to kind of find the right piece or pieces. And Grambling State, we said it last week, although they had a tough beginning of conference play, you knew they were going to bring their A game, Coach Pettaway. So for Southern University, no losses on the men's side. For the women, quiet as it kept. They've only have one conference loss. But if you kind of look at the standings, both on the men's and women's side, it's pretty tight, though. It's pretty tight. Jackson State loses their first conference games. They go to that Texas two-step. Did I say how tough that Texas two-step is? Now you see why. And I think Coach Pettaway said getting it
over with.
Get it out early helps you out. Good morning, Brian Fulford, and good morning to everybody in the chat room. Now, I'm not going to go off since we're talking about officiating. I know they're human and they make mistakes, but I'll tell you what, I'm still trying to come to peace with 3 referees. And Coach Petter, remember last year we talked about this? And then the referee that runs the baseline, I was at the point of, why do we need that third official? But somebody in the crowd calmly told me why you have to go with the flow. But the refereeing that past Saturday, they did make some mistakes, but there were some bad calls both ways. As I wrap up my semi rant on the officiating, but guys, so far the conference race pretty tight on both sides, women and men.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be that way. But here in Huntsville now, on the women's side, Texas Southern's coming to town. They're leading the conference right now. So Donna Thornton has an opportunity to make a statement. She's got them on her home court. Texas Southern's undefeated. We have 1 loss, and we're tied with Jackson State, who by beating Alabama A&M has the tiebreaker. So she can help herself today by coming out and winning this game. And Coach Skeet, she's got Texas Southern rolling right now. She's got them in a good place. This will be a big test for her because I expect us to have a nice crowd. We had a sellout crowd last week. I don't think we'll have a sellout, but I think it'll be we'll have a nice atmosphere in here. They do a pretty good job with game day. Our only issue in this brand new facility, we still having Wi-Fi problems. I'm having them right now. That's why I can't pull up anything. My hotspot comes in and out. So that's the only thing with this new facility. They're still working out some of the kinks.
And a brand new building. brand new, beautiful, state of the art. Well,
Wi-Fi is not cheap, Carlos.
Hmm?
A whole Wi-Fi infrastructure is not cheap. If you want really strong Wi-Fi, it costs a little more than a pretty penny these days.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you have a lot of traffic, when you have 5,000 fans in that A&M Event Center, that's going to be on that Wi-Fi. It's going to be on Wi-Fi. You got to make some adjustments to make sure the Wi-Fi is solid. You got to cut some things off.
Hey, Charles, it's only about 20 of us in the building now.
Yeah,
it's about 20 people in this building right now, and you still having different. They're aware of it. They've been working on it. They're working on it. That's why I was late getting to it, and you're absolutely correct. Now, like for our football games and stuff, it's over with. It is over with because you have so many people at the Magic City Classic, and for homecoming, you can be standing right next to somebody. You can't even text them or do or call them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, but it's no secret. I mean, even if you go to a Saints game, if you go to a football stadium, a pro stadium, a college stadium, Wi-Fi issues are that, because the pipe is only so big, and so you're going to get that no matter where you go. I mean, at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, it's going to be an issue. You got 100 and some thousand people, all those devices. It's going to happen. And we talk about it, but I think it should be understood that it's going to be those type of things. So for me, and I saw the response as far as the hardline connection is concerned, but Wi-Fi is just it's not enough. The pipe's only so big, and it's not going to be big enough for all the traffic.
Well, speaking of a hardline connection, Wi-Fi, fiber optics. I don't have the top plan, but I got the medium plan, and I'm hardwired into my laptop for that extra protection.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, hey, sometimes you have to log out and log back in.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, hey, it was on my end.
Yeah.
But with that being said,
you talk about the standings.
Yeah, the standings. And yeah, you're right, Charles. And I was about to pull that up on the women's side. Let's just pull it up. That old Wi-Fi.
I think Carlos right now, you look at, I have the standings, Southern 5-0. You got a 3-way tie for second, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State. That's on the men's side. Then you've got Alcorn. They're the 5 seed, even though they're tied with Alabama State for 5th. The Braves beat Alabama State. So you're kind of, I'm going to take a Wheeler Brown approach. Wheeler Brown likes to talk about thirds, right? Finishing the top third. So I'm going to break up the conference standings in the thirds. The first 4, the second 4, and the third 4. So you got the top 4 on the men. It's pretty solid. Southern, Texas Southern, Bethune, and Jackson. I think Bethune is probably the most surprising team to me. Every year Reggie Theus' team is right there, and this year they're even more so right there. Usually they kind of lag in the middle of the pack. Maybe they might drop 6 or 7, but they're right there. And so then the Braves at 3-2. But we got to put ourselves in position to get in that top 4 by winning these 2 home games, because we got to go to Southern and Grambling in the next week. So I think top 6 or 7 is going to be really intriguing. But I think Alabama A&M, they take Jackson in a triple overtime. They push us around, and we're fortunate to win that game. I think Alabama State they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in this league. If they're hot, look out for that. So I think we got a lot of good stories. FAMU, Coach Carey's team comes here today, a couple of wins. They've got 2 of the top 5 scorers in the Southwestern Athletic Conference that we got to deal with. And if we can't deal with it, it's going to be a tough night here. So I think each and every night you got to come with it, because you could fall on your face really quickly.
Hey, Charles, is it too early to say that Grambling on the men's side might be out of it?
No, I don't. I was halfway discouraged after losing to Southern, but I was slightly encouraged after losing to Southern, because I think that Grambling showed a little bit of a fight. It was tough what happened in the final seconds. Carlos talked about it. It was a tough call. And, all those free throws at the end just kind of exasperated that situation. But I think Grambling's going to be heard from. I'm gonna compare Grambling to the TSU of 2 years ago. You know, remember TSU stumbled in the tournament as an 8th seed and they won the whole thing. Grambling could be that team, even though they're taking 10 teams. I think Grambling, I don't think they're one of the 2 worst teams. I think Grambling could finish 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in there, but they could be a dangerous out if they can figure it out.
Well, I got a chance to see them up close and personal. And the first thing I thought about, well, 2 things. One, they're the defending champions, right?
Right.
They're gonna get everybody's best shot. 2, nobody's feeling sorry for them. 3, they're not as talented as last year.
Right.
Just in my humble opinion, I'm just gonna be brutally honest. Now, 4, they still fight hard. 5, I knew they were gonna come because it's a rivalry game.
Right.
Southern 5-0, Texas Southern 4-1, Bethune 4-1. Southern has defeated Texas Southern, gave them their only loss. Bethune their only loss.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't seen Jackson State, but we'll see Jackson State, and we'll see Alcorn, and then Alabama State is coming up. Not to toot Southern's horn, but right now they are the best. But to your point, it's still a lot of basketball to be played.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to go into the fractions of a third, and a third. I look at the team that's the most consistent will win at the end of the regular season. Now, you know, a lot of times the committee looks at who's playing the best at the end of the regular season. They look at all of that. But, first, second, and third, and fourth is still up for grabs.
Uh-huh.
The great start that Southern has gotten off to, they're still only 1 game up on 2, 3, and 4. So they still have to play as if they're not in first place and still have that energy.
I think consistency has been on their side right now, and that's the main thing. Yeah, as we've been saying, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be important pretty much for everybody. For Grambling, it's going to be important because they got to get the ship back upright and try to make a decent run before the season ends, before it becomes tournament time. What you don't want to do is go into the tournament on a downward spiral. Then it's not going to be pretty much whatever you do, it's not going to make a difference. You're going to be pretty much one and done. But Southern's in the best shape possible. Couldn't ask for better. They just got to continue to hold serve at home, and split the remaining road games. They'll be right where they want to be.
Yeah. I think, Carlos, to your point, Southern always makes this good start. I think you've always talked about Southern starts fast, but it's the month of February and March you always talk about. So this is par for the course for Southern University. Coach Johnson's done a really good job. You've had him on the show. He's got it going, but he's got to keep it going. And I think that's the question, going forward, taking one day at a time, 1 game at a time, because in this conference, teams are coming for everybody.
I would agree. On the women's side, and we'll pull that up, you see some close races as well.
Texas Southern's a surprise team. I think if you talk about a surprise team in the SWAC, total men and women, it's got to be Coach Skeet's ball club at Texas Southern.
Yeah,
they are 5-0. I mean, who thought that was going to happen? I mean, I talked with our coach, Nate Kilbert, about it. He saw kind of semblances of it last year. But, they had some players in the portal. They weren't happy with what Coach Skeet was trying to adopt and being a new coach. But they got a team that plays together. I saw them last week. They play together. They play for one another. They've got some really good pieces, and they're listening to the coaching. So if they stay out of their own way, stay out of their own head, I think Texas Southern, they're going to get tested now. There's no question about it. But Coach Skeet's got that team going, and to me, they're the surprise of SWAC basketball right now.
Right. They're surprised, but also now we got to give Jackson State some credit, too. Now, that's an entirely new team.
Oh, yeah,
And they're 5-1.
Yeah.
Every player on that team is new to that program.
Yes.
And for them to be at 5-1, I think that's big also.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was a point, when I said I made a mistake about last week about Jackson State, and the cupboard wasn't full. That's one of the things I talked about. But I also said, Richard's done a great job.
Right.
And to your point, Coach Pettaway, so still right there, 5-1. Alabama A&M, I still think they are. If I had to re-rank the teams, yeah, Texas Southern won, but I'm still going with Alabama A&M second. Southern 4-1. Bethune-Cookman 3-2, FAMU 3-3. I saw FAMU come to the F.G. Clark Activity Center, and my thoughts is, wow, wait another year or two. I think you will really see an even better team. Now, Southern women smoked them by 15 or 16, but that's a team to keep your eye out on. FAMU, good coach, players. They bear watching, Charles.
Yeah, I was impressed with Coach Gordon at the end of their season last year in Birmingham. They were eliminated. They were down, whatever they were, 10 seconds left in the game. They lost. It was over. And I can't remember the player that she was talking to, pulled over to the side, was pointing out some stuff. I mean, even the season was over, she still was coaching. She still was trying to show her players some stuff. And I like that as a coach. Instead of just running out the string, it was a teachable moment. And so I like Coach Gordon, and I think she's gonna get the most out of that team, and you better give her the most, or else you're not gonna be on the floor. I like Coach Gordon and the job that she's done. It's just year two. I think more is to come for that program.
What do you think, Coach Pettaway?
Well, I agree. The women are, man. There's some exciting teams on the women's side, and I like your Jaguars. Coach Fonte is going to always have them ready to play. I like what Coach Thornton is doing here. Got a chance to see Jackson State firsthand. And I'm be interested to see Coach Skeet and Texas Southern in a few hours or in another couple of hours. So it's good basketball. Your top 10 teams are going to that tournament. And right now, if it ends today, it'll be Pine Bluff and Valley. Be sitting at home, or Alcorn if they don't pick it up. No. They Alcorn's 1-4, Mississippi Valley's 1-5, and of course Valley's 0-6. So that's the three teams at the bottom. But with 10 teams going, that gives these kids some motivation to play until the end of the year. Everybody wants to make that trip to Atlanta. So I think it's going to come down to the probably to the last weekend, the way parity is in the league this year. So you don't have a clear-cut favorite this time around. Even though Texas Southern's 5-0 out the gate, in the past, we knew it was going to be Jackson State. It was Coach Reed and Jackson State, and then everybody else had to fit in. Well, you don't have that. You don't have that issue right now. You got some teams that I think it's going to come down to the last weekend of the season, Charles, to crown a champion on the women's side.
I agree with that. I mean, if you just look at the standings right now, you got the top 4 teams separated by one game.
Right.
And so there's a lot of basketball left at the top. And then you talked about my Lady Braves. We're struggling right now, and we were without our best player, Destiny Brown. Some issues that she's been dealing with. She's back now. So we'll see. Destiny Brown, before she went out for the Texas trip, was SWAC Player of the Week, 19-10, and that's what she can give you. And so we need that 19-10. But these two games this weekend are critical because we go to Southern and Grambling after that, and you're talking about making the top 10. We are the 10 seed right now, but if we're gonna make a push and try to at least solidify a spot, we're gonna have to win these two at home. We've already kind of let some games slip away. We can't afford, especially at home, let any more slip away.
And Coach Pettaway, listening to the crowd, because I sit in the crowd, they looking forward to Alcorn and Jackson State coming. They are looking. Well, no bulletin board material. They're just looking forward to it. And Jackson State and Texas Southern today on the women's side, I think Texas Southern gets their first loss. My bold prediction. I don't know how bold it is. I mean, on the road, it's tough. It's tough throughout college basketball, and the formula is universal. I think Willa said it best. Take care of business at home, and if you can split on the road, and if you can do even a little bit better on the road, you're in the position. And speaking of tournament. Somebody mentioned tournament. Yeah, 10 teams. I'm still trying to grasp that. But you know what? I'm a team player. If it's 10, you got to appreciate it. Now, next year is the one where, I'm going to have to go in a little counseling again. All 12 teams for a guy who's always been on, talking about the regular season. But hell, everybody deserves a second chance, huh? The NCAA approved paying women's tournament teams, Coach Pettaway.
I like it. I love it. I want more of it. They need to be paying them. They've been paying the men. They should have been paying them a long time ago.
They sure have. They sure should have.
Right. And that's going to help a lot of schools, a lot of conferences. It's long overdue. The money's been there. The money's been there. It's just that they've just now realizing that they got to treat the women better. That's all that is. They realize that they have to treat female women's athletics better, and this is a start.
Well, from an administrative perspective, you got to be happy, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, you already forced because of Title IX to spend just as much money on the women as you do the men. So, they got more scholarships than the men, that sort of thing. I mean, like Coach Pettaway said, it should have been paying them. This is very, 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 very long overdue. So, hopefully it'll help improve some things on the women's side. But, I mean, the women's game is the flavor of the month right now.
Yeah.
It's probably been that way for the last 5-6 years, maybe longer.
Well, I know it's very popular right now. South Carolina coach Don Staley, whose Gamecocks went undefeated, winning last year's national championship, and a third overall, said her first thoughts hearing of the vote was a simple yes. This continues our fight to lift women's basketball to historic levels, she said. I appreciate the decision by the Kaplan, Heckler, and Fink law firm to include the lack of units in their report as a key issue holding women's basketball back from capitalizing on a historic event and quality of the product on the court. Now, so-called performance units, which represents revenue, will be given to women's teams playing in a tournament starting this year, the event's 43rd edition. A team that reaches the Final Four could bring its conference roughly $1.26 million over the next 3 years in financial performance awards. In the first year, $15 million will be awarded to teams out of the fund, which is 26% of the women's basketball media revenue deal. That will grow to $25 million, or 41% of the revenue by 2028. Now, the 26% is on par with what men's basketball team received the first year the performance unit program was established. And I have the rest of the article posted on Facebook, Carlos Brown. But it's a start. And with the popularity of women's basketball and women basketball and non-conference, they play a lot of guarantee games. Will probably not. They probably don't get the amount that the men get.
No,
but nowhere near.
Right. Yeah. But they're still going out and making that supreme sacrifice to bring revenue to the program, the athletic department.
Right.
I think my philosophy has always been, for the women to play to win. Because you really, there's not a lot of money involved, on the women's side with the guarantees, that sort of thing. Just don't cost me anything.
Right.
You go wherever you want to go. I don't mind. Schedule something that you can win, possibly. If you want to dip your toe in the water with the big girls, that sort of thing. Just try not to cost me anything, and go to your heart's content. So, if your out of conference record isn't what it should be, it's going to be on you, because I'm allowing you to do pretty much whatever you want. You got carte blanche.
So we'll call it break even, huh, Will?
Pretty much. And I'm happy as a lark.
And you know what? And it's doable too, because I can remember back when we had men's soccer here. Our men's team played a West Coast schedule. But you know what? It didn't cost the university because that guy would go out there and play 4 or 5 teams. One team would have the airline ticket. The other team would have the hotel. The other team would provide the food. And he played 4. It's like, well, why is the soccer team flying all over the place? Because he did just what Will is talking about. They made sure that it did not cost the university 1 penny. So they allow Coach Yusuf to do that. And some of the women's teams now, they pay enough to where you can get your expenses paid for. So if that's the case, you can go out and play those games where it does not cost the university. You just got to find the right teams. Now, every conference is not the same. You know, you got some of the mid-major conference. No, you're not going to get that money. That's why you got to play 2 people in the same area. You play 2 people in the same area where there's not a lot of travel time in between games, and both teams are contributing to that trip, and you can get it done.
And you got to understand that you're not getting good money close to home.
Correct.
You need to understand that. You're not getting good money close to home. Don't even try it. You know, so if you got to go out on the coast, that sort of thing, as Coach Pettaway said, you piggyback with USC and UCLA and Cal, you know, in 4 days, you playing 3 games. You know, you probably getting 60, maybe 70,000 a pop. You know, your expenses will probably come to less than 100 easy, you know, with hotels and all that sort of thing. You in and out, bam, you back home. Money in your pocket.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, well, we're in a situation now, Carlos, for next year. I think we're in a position where I think we've been invited to Destin, Florida. There's a tournament down there in Florida, which you get 3 games in, or 2 or 3 games. So you got several teams there, and they take care of a lot of your expense. You stay at a nice resort, and the weather's good, and the food is good, and you get a chance to play basketball. And if you can get that taken care of, and get a couple of dollars on the side where it doesn't cost you hardly anything, I think coaches will take that because they want to play. They want to get games in, but they don't want the exorbitant cost of it. And it's close to home. I mean, Destin from here is 5 hours. So it makes sense as far as Alcorn is concerned.
Interesting. Because, someone asked me, again, at the basketball game, the conversations you have at a basketball game are just, they're amazing. And some of the good. It's like, well, in Southern's instance, how about, and I think we've talked about it before, how about a nice tournament? And let's say take out about 3 or 4 of those guarantee games or 2. I told him, man, Willa would chop my head off if I brought that up to him. But they brought up like a Bobby Fields tournament, with permission of his wife. Just the things they were talking about. They would love to see a HBCU Classic. I know Dr. Cavill, Coach Pettaway have talked about it and have done some research on it, and I wouldn't be against that. How could I be against that? But and then you could throw a women piece in there. So, but Willa, we would have to convince you. I know we would have to convince you.
Only
why
because,
that was a good deal.
When you're hosting something like that, Carlos, you got to make sure that you got buy-in from the hotels, that sort of thing. That you're going to be able to take care of some travel expenses and things like that. And so in the long run, you're better off going on the road and get that money. Your kids got an opportunity to visit places they may not ever get a chance to visit, that sort of thing. And so, I just think it's a win-win when you take it on the road. Now, if you got good sponsorship, that sort of thing, and folk gonna take care of your hotels, and you're gonna be able to pay a little piece of guarantee to the teams that are coming in and all that sort of thing. You got a good marketing group that's going to do a good job in terms of getting it out there within the community, and you can foresee a great crowd, that sort of thing. If it's going to make it worth your while all the way around, then fine. just to say that we have 2 or 3 more home games, that sort of thing. If it's out of conference, going to give the kids a chance to, get out there, see some places, that sort of thing. And if you can bring a couple dollars back, then, good. And God bless you. And let's keep it moving.
I'm gonna throw that. Will, I think you're not as hard today.
He is. That's tough.
I think it's something that needs to be revisited. I'm gonna throw it out in the chat room. Would you? Because I think the fans would be important too. Would you be interested in your particular school having a tournament? And just answer it in the chat room. Well, we're long overdue for a timeout, but when we come back, we'll check and see if Aussie Clark is ready to join us. Also, it's official. The 2025 SWAC Baseball Tournament moves to Birmingham, and I was a guest on the ONG Strike Zone when the FAMU's baseball coach kind of let it out. Give credit to the source. And it wasn't official then that it was moving to Birmingham, but the conference has released the baseball tournament in Birmingham. We're going to get the panel's thought. Also, your thoughts in the chat room. It's moved again, but this time, I don't know, maybe a little different. We'll see. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return after this timeout.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get it down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. 2025 SWAC Baseball Tournament set to be held in Birmingham. Slated for May 21st, 25th, will be hosted in Birmingham, Alabama at the historic Rickwood Field. Quote from Dr. Charles McClellan, "We're extremely excited to bring the SWAC Baseball Tournament back to the city of Birmingham. Many of the all-time legends of the game of baseball played at historic Rickwood Field, including Satchel Paige, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ty Cobbs, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, Jackie Robinson, and countless other. The city of Birmingham, in conjunction with Major League Baseball, has made significant upgrades and enhancement to the venue, creating a unique opportunity for us to provide our fans, supporters, and student athletes with the first-class, one-of-a-kind experience at the truly historic venue." So, Birmingham, and yeah, I saw Brian said, yeah, they do break stories, news stories, and that's so I had to give credit. That's where I heard of that. I was in backstage waiting to get on the show, and Coach Shootman said, this is what's going to happen. Then he said, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said it yet. It's not official.
Hey, but Carlos, one of my friends played at Rickwood Field. His name was Dave Whitney.
Wait a minute, Dave Whitney?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I happen to know of him.
Yeah. Yeah, he played at Rickwood.
Man, I think Dave Whitney was like 6'6". He was a tall guy. Is this the same one I'm talking about? No?
Man, come on, Carlos. Hey, he thinking about Dave Winfield, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Coach Whitney, I was at the Hall of Fame in Indianapolis when they unveiled his stuff up there, man. And I think I remember him telling me when we first got into SWAC that he played baseball, but I didn't know to what extent, man, until I was in Indianapolis and they opened up that room with him in there, man. I fell out, man. That's a great accomplishment. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think a lot of the SWAC people even are aware of that, man. No. But he's up there in Indianapolis. When you go to the headquarters, they got a museum up there, man, and he's in there, man, and it's prominent. And I think, Charles, I think by the mere fact that I was up there for that really endeared him to me, man, because he was like, I was the only person there, man, that he knew, and it was great, man. It was great.
A lot of people don't know that's absolutely correct. And I was at the Negro Baseball Hall of Fame in Kansas City on a family vacation one summer, and I saw his name emboldened in one of the things up there. So, and I really didn't realize that about Coach Whitney until then, how deep he was into baseball and how much he had a place in the Negro Hall of Fame as part of baseball.
Right, in the history of baseball,
History of baseball.
Played in the Negro League,
My first game on the SWAC Digital Network, Carlos, a guy named Robert Williamson, who was over it at the time, I did a game at Rickwood Park, and I took a tour of Rickwood Park. I mean, and it's just awesome. It gives you chills, just the history of it. Then you had the game last year, the Giants and the Cardinals. I think that's kind of helped, but you saw that on display. So clearly the SWAC coming back to Birmingham. This is the second time the SWAC tournament's been at Rickwood, by the way. And so I think, the SWAC coming back to Birmingham. Yes, personally, I would love to see the baseball tournament sticking. My feelings in terms, there's only one place I think the tournament would last and it was successful. You know where that is. Heinz Field in Baton Rouge. I think that's where it should be permanently. We bounce it around. But nonetheless, we're at Rickwood, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing goes in Birmingham. I was really surprised that it left Atlanta because from what I was told and what I saw, that there was some pretty good support there in Atlanta. But it's moving to Birmingham, and let's support it so it can stick and stay there.
But I think at the end of the day, you got to take care of Birmingham. I mean, the conference office is there.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure they've made great concessions to the SWAC in terms of them having a conference office there, that sort of thing. And so you gotta take care of your home. I mean, that's where the office is. You got to try to have as many championships there as you possibly can. If you're not gonna take football there permanently, if you're not going to have basketball there permanently, that sort of thing, then the onus is on you to make sure that your non-revenue sports, that you have as many championships there in Birmingham as you possibly can.
And that's been done, Wheeler. We've had, football was there for a period of time. Baseball was there. Basketball was there. The SWAC volleyball tournament was there. Softball was in Irondale. So we, I agree. The tournament has been in Birmingham, and I do think some of those handshake agreements in terms of having some tips there. So that may be a part of that as well, coming back to Birmingham.
And we had indoor track there also.
Indoor track, yeah.
So how long do you think your projection is on the baseball tournament staying in Birmingham, especially if it's successful? Are we looking at maybe 3 to 5 years?
I would say 3.
I think it's 3. And then with Rickwood making all the renovations, I think it'll be a nice facility, venue for our baseball players and our baseball teams to be in, because I think they spent close to $8 million on renovations at that place. So they're gonna have a great field, the locker rooms, all that stuff has been redone. So I think it's gonna be a great atmosphere for them to play in.
And you saw the fact again, the Giants and Cardinals played a big regular season game there mid-season last year. I mean, it was a star-studded event. So you see what that facility looks like with all the bells and whistles. And so now with the SWAC going there, they'll have some of the bells and whistles too. And I just hope people appreciate the history of that place, because a lot of people don't. I mean, I took a tour of it and I was just blown away with what I saw there. And I hope fans get a chance to check it out and just see the history. Some of the greats have played in that stadium.
Right. And then our guy Mo Carter, they did Carlos leading up to that game, because that was a Fox venture. They did a week of broadcasting from down there, and they took the cameras behind the scenes, and so they were able to show the public a lot of different things that were going on in the city of Birmingham leading up to that game and at Rickwood Field. So we got the virtual tour of Rickwood Field, and all of the upgrades and all that kind of stuff. And it was fantastic, man. I just think that with our headquarters being in Birmingham, I think Willie is right. Something needs to be in Birmingham, because the city, when we first got to Birmingham, they did do a lot for the SWAC to get everything established there. So I just think it's a win-win situation for our conference and also for our baseball teams. I just think it is.
And guys, the baseball tournament, it's not changing, right? As far as the teams participating, right?
We have the top. They've done away with East and West,
right? But no, I'm talking about the tournament participants. It's still at 8.
Yes. Yep. As far as I know, it is. But they've done away with East and West, though. So that's what's going to make it a little more interesting, because now you're seeded 1 through 8. It's not the top 4 in your own division now. It's 1 through 8. So I think that's going to add a little more conversation to baseball. Softball's trying to do that. What I was told, softball wants to emulate baseball, but I understand that the softball committee couldn't quite get everything lined up in time to have it happen for this upcoming season. Now, I mean, I know one of the coaches there that's kind of over the softball committee, so it may happen, but I think that softball's trying to emulate that too, to take away divisions to where, the top 8 go for softball as well.
Well, my mind is starting to think again, because it was a debate the last couple of years with the divisions. Who was the strongest on the West? Was it the East? You got Bethune, FAMU, Alabama State, right?
Mhm.
Did I mention FAMU?
Yeah.
All right, that's 4 spots there. Then on the West, we could easily say Grambling State,
Southern,
Southern, yeah,
Texas Southern.
Texas Southern, Prairie View.
You got a first year coach at UAPB. We got a first
Right.
year at Alcorn.
First year
Riggins,
coach at A&M.
first year
First
coach
year
at
coach at A&M. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's baseball's kind of strange, Carlos. We see these midweek upsets all the time. You could have a first year coach tearing it up in this conference. You got a bunch of new. I think Coach Hardy here at Alcorn, former, coach at Savannah State, who was really, really good at Savannah for the years he was there, has been a great addition. I mean, that was a great pickup. A lot of folks were shocked that we got him, and he's already making his mark. And he says, book your ticket to. He said Atlanta. That's when the tour was in Atlanta. Book your ticket to Birmingham. Bray's gonna be there. And so I think he said, don't worry about it. We're gonna be there. So I think you got a lot of presence, and you got some young coaches in this league in their first year. The article UAPB's got a young coach.
Yep, I saw that. Yep.
And Alabama A&M. I mean, Alabama A&M to me has always been a sleeper. I mean, they had a coach there once that had a construction background, was ready to renovate that baseball stadium, had contractors ready to go. And next thing you know, he left. I thought, but A&M's still a good baseball program. So I think baseball is going to be intriguing this year. So Southern, I know people talk about Southern and what happened with their program after the first year. They won the championship. Kind of been tough times, but baseball, man, especially with the transfer portal, you can restock some talent. Don't know if teams are going to offer more scholarships with this new settlement and all of that. You can offer more. We'll see if that happens. So I think baseball could be something worth talking about.
Hey, Carlos, and I wanted you all. I'm gonna give you all something there for food for thought. Before FAMU and Bethune-Cookman joined us in the MEAC, they were always in contention. Mm-hmm. Has anybody ever figured out why? I got
because they were
South. Playing in the South. They got better weather
able to
practice
when cold weather schools can't get outside.
Yep.
Well,
I think that gives them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that gives them a distinct. I think that gives them a distinct advantage, and then they're taking it and they're taking advantage of. They're using it to their advantage. Mm-hmm. Yep, they're using it.
Just throw out this week. Climate
same
change.
thing in softball. Softball, same thing.
Yeah. I was peeking out the curtains.
I was dying, boy, laughing at you, man.
You could tell I'm not from a snow weather area, right? 9 inches of snow in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge.
Yep.
This climate change is real, folks.
6 inches in Florida. 6 inches in North Florida. Milton, Florida, 6 inches.
Tallahassee, Pensacola,
Orange Beach. We vacation there. Snow on the beach. Come on, man.
Yeah, I was hiding in the closet half of the time. And I'm gonna tell you now. I don't know if you've heard, but NOA is predicting February the 6th. Kind of the same setup as we just had this past week. The school system was shut down for a week, and people up north were like, "Well, Will text me. That's just what did you say? Dust,
light dusting."
Yeah, light dusting.
And as you said that, I was behind the shades looking. We're not used to it, Will.
But Carlos, they didn't go virtual. The school system didn't go virtual.
No.
Wow.
We had a nice spring break this past week.
Yep.
So we go back Monday. Right now it's sunny, and then one morning it was 9 degrees. Charles, I started to hibernate.
and what's gonna make it so crazy when we come to Baton Rouge next week? It's gonna be 75 when we go down there next week. It's supposed to be a warm up. Then the week after that, they're looking at another snowstorm.
Yeah, gonna make people sick, man. That's all it's gonna do.
Well, somebody put a post on Facebook. Who owns a snow shovel down there? Who owns a snow shovel in New Orleans? Who owns a snow shovel in Baton Rouge? I saw that post.
Oh my God! Whoever, what store? I don't know if it's something you will continuously have in your merchandise and your stock, but I think you'll see some. I mean, it was thick. Not, most people thought, well, okay, we've seen 1 inch or 2 in the past 7 years, but 9. I mean, this is just incredible.
Yeah. That's why you got to have a bag of salt in the garage, man. The salt will last forever, but it'll help you with your walkway and your driveway.
So I can't just buy not salt on the table. Now that's bad.
Man, I don't do nothing. You gotta have that rock salt, Carlo.
I know. But I told you not used to it. I actually saw some people with a box of salt outside.
They
waste their money. Table salt, Carlo, keep it for the French fries.
Somebody down was sitting in the back of their truck with some table salt and spraying that on the road. The other day, I'm like, man, what are you doing? Wheeler Brown, put it on the French fries.
The times that we live in.
59. I think they were looking for a cheap alternative. You can get salt for 59 cents, 79 cents. So it's a cheap alternative.
But as I say, that won't work. Well, let me pull up the SWAC basketball schedule. Well, let's do this. Let's take a break. And when we come back, because Charles, I know you and Coach Pettaway have to get ready for your broadcast. So I think you can go with us till about 12:25 or so. We'll take a quick time. Okay, we'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll look at some Thursday night women's action. Then we'll get you ready for today's action. And then we'll have our game of the week. And we'll do a little prediction as well for Saturday. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The fourth annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Please, if you would, hit the like button, notification, and subscribe button, and of course, advertise with the Black College Sports Network. You see the info at myjbn.com. Thursday, January 20th.
Carlos, can I make a statement here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love doing this show because it's great therapy. After what happened to my Rams and somebody's Ravens, we need that hell of a therapy this week.
You ain't lying about that, Charles. I've been out and back off the ledge.
You're back in the house.
9 times.
Well, Willa, you definitely, because a drop 2-point conversion. Yeah. Actually, the Rams succeeded my expectation this year, and Charles, I have something to look forward to. Coach Pettaway, do you have an NFL team?
Well, yeah, I've always been a Steelers, and then I like the Ravens though. After the Steelers were put out, so it was a double whammy for me when the Ravens went down. Yeah,
I think I'm in the worst position of everybody on this panel.
Need a head coach.
The Saints.
You need a head coach.
You need more than a head coach. You need a general manager. And the defensive coordinator, who I thought was going to be next coach at New Orleans, now he's at the Jets. And one of the reasons reported was that he wanted some changes done in management. So now, and if it's what's his name, Brady. If Brady gets the job, I'm not sold on him. Yeah. Miller says, shh, I'm a Jags fan. Jacksonville. Yeah, Melanie, I might be behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's more than just a coach, Charles, with the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I thought Aaron Glenn, and even though Aaron Glenn expressed concern about the front office, and he's correct, I like Mickey Loomis, but he needs to choose either the Saints or the Pelicans. If you're gonna, it's hard to do both of those. I think Mickey Loomis needs to move out of the way, move aside. I agree. It's time for a blow up there, and I think it's just you got to start at the top. And I agree. I thought Aaron Glenn would have been perfect. I said Aaron Glenn in New Orleans, his ties down there, perfect. But the Jets was number one choice, and he got what he wanted.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a tough situation as well.
Yeah.
The good thing is you're in a huge media market.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of why I hadn't talked too much NFL and Saints.
Hey, look, NFL, you haven't talked NFL or NBA, and Jimmy Butler knows why you haven't talked NBA.
Well,
don't take that call, Carlos. don't take that call from Pat Riley, because I got something to say.
Well, I have a lot to say. And it's like a relationship that is done.
Yeah.
For both parties, it's time to
part ways. Yep.
Part ways. Beautifully said, Coach Pettaway. And now, you hear all kind of different things. February 6th is the deadline, trade deadline coming up.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be moved, and it's fault on both sides. You hear Memphis, you hear Phoenix. Phoenix seems to be the number one destination for Jimmy Butler, and I watched Miami the other night against Milwaukee, who got snowed in New Orleans. Believe it or not, 9 inches of snow.
Yeah,
they got to the arena 2 hours before. Miami jumped out to like a 15-3 lead, and they lost by over 20 points.
Yeah,
it's and I know the culture in Miami. You never say rebuild or blow up, but you might as well go with the youth movement. And Mr. Ware now is starting at center along with Bam, Coach Pettaway, which is his natural position. 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, anything's on the table if I'm the general manager there. Anything's on the table except Bam. But everybody else would be
expendable.
Could be traded.
Yep.
But we texted this week. This is Charles Edmond's opinion about the Jimmy Butler Miami situation. in my opinion, guys, I think Jimmy Butler checked out after that failed Dame Lillard trade. I think once that trade, and I think Jimmy Butler was all in on that. And once that thing fell through, I think piece by piece, day by day, he saw what wasn't happening, and he just kind of just checked out slowly but surely. And there's no reason to bring him back now. I mean, I been it for 2 games or whatever. What are you gonna do now? I mean, he doesn't want to be there. And Shaq said something on Inside the NBA the other night, and I think we kind of discounted a little bit. Human, if you don't want me, I don't want you. I think that's exactly what
That's
Shaq
human
said.
nature.
It's if you don't want me, I don't want you. And so, but what do you do with that? Jimmy's not gonna not play and get a check. Jimmy's either gonna play, get a check, or he's gonna be suspended and not get a check. I mean, so what? I mean, I don't know what you can do with that, but Jimmy should have traded by now, and I think he was expected to be traded by now. He probably will by the deadline. But
I got a saying that I go by: when I pay, you play. When I say, end of story. End of story.
And I don't see the effort.
They paying him for his services.
Yeah.
He need to be out there doing the very best that he can. Not to say that he doesn't have any legitimate gripes. Maybe he does, that sort of thing. But, I mean, I'm paying you, son. I mean, what about that is hard to understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I see Coach Grave is having fun at my expense.
He gonna stick a needle in it.
Yeah.
I expect nothing less. But I look at the Knicks. Yeah, I'm a little bit jealous, but I think the Knicks should be better off in the standings where they are. At least a better record.
Yeah.
But Coach Graves, you're right. But you know what? I'm not giving Jimmy Butler away for a little nothing either. So I know the best. He says any place but Memphis. I think that's probably where he could. They have the cap room right now to take him on, and I got to get some valuable assets back.
Right.
So I don't know.
Wait for a bag of peanuts, that's for sure.
What was that, Charles?
He's not going to be given away for a bag of peanuts. You want some assets back. And look, Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley kind of pushed back on it and said, you're under contract for 2 more years. What about the obligation to your teammates and to your fans? And they're right on that too, because you're under contract, you're making $50 million, you're cheating the fans. All that is true. But I think that relationship soured a long time ago. And it's time to move on from Jimmy. But I think the Heat is a great organization, but that's a nasty, ugly relationship that's going to get worse over time unless they move on from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, interesting comments. Dr. Cavill just said Miami made a business decision and Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And Charles, I don't think it's necessarily with Dame Lillard, because some people swear it was a conspiracy to keep him out of Miami. We've seen some stuff with Chris Paul.
Right. Kept him out of LA.
So don't think that's not too far fetched. But the business decision, and he's 35.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be 36.
Yeah.
That's young in life, but in professional sports, even in basketball, maybe baseball is a little different. Let's tear on your body. They've decided not to get an extension, and that's what he really wanted. To Willer's point, and I did see Shaq, Kenny, and Barkley. You're all under contract, and you still have to show up. A lot of times we don't like to show up at work. We're not feeling well. That may be a different scenario, but you gotta show up, and then you're always a brand, and so Jimmy is known as playoff Jimmy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regular season, not so much, but the light shines bright in the playoffs. What guarantee that the next team, because he's gonna want an extension there too, and so that is kind of a situation as well that teams are kind of like, he may not sign an extension with us, So that's why we're lowballing the offers. And Miami's getting them, but it's not to their liking.
Right.
So it is a business. You're right, Dr. Cavill. And both parties, they've made a business decision. But I think Jimmy may be hurting himself, down the line.
Yeah.
Who wants to pay for cancer?
Right.
I mean, if you got an issue where you are right now, I'm going to be real reluctant, to take you in. Yeah, I mean, you might bring that same attitude or what have you. If something goes wrong somewhere, you'll bring it in here.
Right.
Well, that's a good point. Hopefully this time in 2 weeks it'll be resolved.
And he might be right. I mean, he may have a legitimate gripe. Don't know. Don't know. But, I just know it probably was a better way from both sides to do things, and, when you're at your job, I mean, sometimes you may have to take something that you may not necessarily want to take, that sort of thing, for the sake of, where you work or what have you. And then you got to make that decision in terms of whether or not you want to continue to work there.
Right.
And if you don't, then you need to amicably depart.
Right.
If at all possible.
And I think everybody will agree with that. It's time.
It's time.
That they go their separate ways,
Send them on to Phoenix. I think Jimmy wants to go to Phoenix. I think Phoenix is trying to clear some stuff to get him. I think Jimmy expected to be in Phoenix by now. Make that happen. Get him out of Miami. Get him to Phoenix with KD and Book, and let's see if they can cook. We'll see if that happens. But I think that's where Jimmy wants to go, and that's the expectation.
Right. And I'll be honest. Some people would say because that's where he want to go, he won't go there because Miami. And I'm looking at the pieces. I'm kind of intrigued by Memphis, what they can give back. And Miami will get some draft picks, Coach Pettaway.
Right, but see, it's going to take more than just one team, Carlos. It's going to be a 3 or 4 team deal in order to make the move because of the salary caps and all of that the regular public doesn't understand. Because he wants to go to Phoenix doesn't mean that Phoenix can fit him under the cap. They've got to move people to other teams, and it's going to be 3 or 4 teams when it's all said and done.
Maybe a 5th team because of the salary.
Yeah. Well, and that's true. You're absolutely right. But Memphis has the clearest path. And again, I'm intrigued by some of the pieces I can get back. Marcus Smart. And then last thing, and we'll wrap it up. Teams that need to win now or expect to win now, like Phoenix. Memphis is in a good position.
Yep.
Some people say, why would they be willing to make a move? That's why. Miami was in a win now mood, but guess what? They're not that way anymore, in my humble opinion. Last Thursday, Pine Bluff loses to Grambling State 64-57, and it was Jackson State once again continuing to play well. They defeated FAMU 73-62. Guys, he gets an extension at the hair store.
Coach Graves killing us, boy. But Carlos, now Jackson State, Charles, you might know this name, Talia Dilworth. Talia Dilworth. She's a real deal at Jackson State.
We recruited her. Nate Gilbert said that he knows all about her. He recruited her, but she wound up at Jackson State, and she's the real deal.
She's a real deal. Yes, yes. I'm sorry, Carlos. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely fine. I'll talk with Coach Graves after the show. and we all know that the Knicks, they would like to have a Jimmy Butler person. Now he's going to come back and say, no, we're fine where we are now, but we shall see. Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State at home. Grambling State at Mississippi Valley State. It's on the women's side. FAMU at Alcorn State. Prairie View at Alabama State. Texas Southern at Alabama A&M, and Southern at Arkansas Pine Bluff. the men, they have the basically the same schedule. Coach Pettaway, because I know you gotta run, you and Charles. Game of the week on the women's side. I think I know, but I want to hear from the panel.
Well, to me, it's Texas Southern, Alabama A&M. I think that's going to be a battle for the top, and I think that's the one that's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it.
I'm gonna try to tune in as many in the man cave as possible. I usually listen to Charles, Chatterbox. Boy, if he can calm down.
Yeah, no, he's here. Chatter's already called me. In fact, I was hoping I can get him to come in here, but I don't know if he's arrived in the building yet. But it's going to be interesting, and this is going to be a big game. And I just want to see Coach Thornton at home with a big game on the line. I want to see what she's got up her sleeve.
And by the way, what, 6,000 last home game for the women?
6,500. Yeah, right at 6,000 for the ladies. And then when the men played, it was over 6,500. It was standing room only.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. On Monday, Bethune-Cookman at Alcorn State, Texas Southern at Alabama State, Prairie View at Alabama A&M. Boy, Coach Pugh and Prairie View A&M. I'm just hearing all kind of things, but we shall see. Southern and Mississippi Valley State, and that concludes Monday's schedule. Both women, on the men's side.
Well, see, on the women's side, you had all those cancellations, so now you got more double headers come Monday.
Yeah.
Would that be because of the snow?
Yeah. It would be because of the snow.
Okay. Wow. That's unbelievable. But race is still tight on both the women's and the men's side. I just think it will. Oh boy, we forgot about Aussie. Well, Aussie. No, we can bring Aussie in if he's still there. I apologize. And there we go, Aussie. I do apologize.
Yes, quite all right. I was do re mi fa so in it back there at the church, and I kept waiting. I said, at some point they're gonna let me in on this conversation.
Well, you go right ahead. I'll say it's my fault. I got sidetracked with the conversation. I think it was the Jimmy Butler. Who brought that up? I think it was Charles.
Idea, but I tell you
Charles
what,
got a hit and run, Carlos. I'm doing a hit and run.
All right, bye-bye, Charles. And Coach Pettaway?
All right, man. Take care. We'll see you guys next week, man.
All right, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, when it's time to blame him, then he takes off.
Well, that's what Charles does. He's like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
How you been, Aussie?
I've been doing well. Thank God for that, man. I mean, in spite of the snow and all of those things that happen, who expects snow in the southeastern part of Texas, of all places? We had actually about 3 to 5 inches that actually came through on Tuesday, and by Wednesday, most of it was gone, and thank God for it. But even today, the clouds are rolling in. It's a brisk day, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. So we'll see what the weather wants to do, or will it continue to have its ups, its downs, its ebbs, and its flows?
Well, you're absolutely right. Beautiful sunshine out here. Supposed to be in the 60s, and I still see snow on the remnants of snow on my neighbor's roof. Unbelievable.
The winter wonderland in South Louisiana, of all places.
And you see, Willa looks at us like, "Wow, really? Come up to Baltimore, where it's a lot of snow."
Yeah, I was just about to say to Willa, my brother lives in Baltimore, Maryland, and he was talking about how cold it was just the other day. I believe he mentioned to me it was like 18 degrees.
Yeah.
The other day, and he was actually complaining because he was at school. He's like, "We're still having school up here, and it's 18 degrees." I said, "It sucks to be you."
Yeah. Well, it's the time we live in, but the Creator's still in control.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
yes,
indeed.
he is.
Yes, indeed.
And I wanted to bring up the point when we were talking in the last segment, about the historic Rickwood Field, and just Google inventions, African American invention. We are a special people. In spite of everything that's going on, we're still here. And from the traffic light to car wash, just to everything, we had a hand in adding that to this country. Just go Google it. And I keep one in my photos on my phone of inventions by African Americans. It is truly, truly just amazing. With that being said, Austin, we've talked about the SWAC Baseball Tournament in Birmingham, Alabama, Rickwood Field. Also, wow, that Southern basketball game with Grambling State at the end of the game, which was just wild. And, I gave my thoughts on Coach Jackson, a tremendous coach, a good person. The emotions just got the best of him. And I put myself in the shoes. I think that would have happened with me as well. Wheeler. So he made a mistake, but the game was pretty good. And throw out the records in this rivalry. It is basketball wise. Like in football, I can make an argument for Jackson State, then Grambling State, but in basketball, you can make a strong argument. It is Southern and Grambling State as far as rivalry, intensity in basketball, Austin.
It definitely is. And I can tell you for a fact, anytime that those two teams match up with each other, it is always something special to watch. You can't walk into the mini dome and actually not feel that electricity. You can't walk into the Frederick C. Hobby Assembly Center and not feel that electricity. And so whenever Grambling and Southern are playing each other, the intensity is at an all-time high. And you know what? It just makes for good basketball. It makes for good rivalry. It makes for a good parity. So I'm thankful for the rivalry because it continues to give us something to look forward to when we talk about athletics. And I think that's something that you can always build on. And one of the things that you just mentioned a moment ago about Alabama A&M and how many fans are showing up at these basketball contests for Grambling and Southern, that is something that you would love to see happen more and more for these schools each and every year, is that more fans come in and actually be a part of what's going on. And so you talk about Coach Jackson and, kind of losing his head at the very end. And you're watching a man who's done a very outstanding job at Grambling State University over the last 7 years, continue to build and make the program stronger and better every single time that Grambling steps out on the floor. If not for injuries, I really believe that the Grambling Tigers are probably in the driver's seat right now, but injuries along the way and a couple of things that happened throughout the course of the season have cost the Tigers their momentum. And right now, they're struggling just to find identity. I watched them play against Prairie View back in the early part of January, I do believe. And I watched that game, and the Grambling Tiger team that I saw a year ago is not the Grambling Tiger team that is playing right now. So they're still trying to find themselves. And when you look at that record of 1-4 in the conference, that pretty much tells you exactly where Grambling is right now as it relates to basketball. And Southern University, you got to tip your hats to them, man. I mean, just playing lights out basketball, playing big time basketball, coming away with some tremendous wins. And like you said, when these teams meet up again the second time around and they meet each other in the Piney Hills of North Louisiana, we pray, from my standpoint, the Grambling Tigers come out on top. But you never know what can happen in those games because there's such big rivalries. And so you tip your hats to both teams for what they have been in history, but what they are right now.
Willa, I think that's Coach Jackson. That may have been the second loss to Southern since he's. Let me back up. I think they had a tremendous advantage. I don't think he's lost too many games while he was coaching. to Southern University because last year Southern had double-digit leads both games and they lost, and so Sean Woods I think lost to Grimp. So it had been a while, and so you add that component also to the intense rivalry, and it was popping. And again, I'm telling you, immediately afterwards, boy, people around me was like, "Ooh, it's gonna be tough going back to Graham."
He's trying to find a way to get it back on track, and hopefully, a little outburst the other day did wonders in terms of get jarring the team the way that he needs for it to be jarred, and hopefully they'll start to turn some things around. But when you're coaching, I mean, you got to deal with the ups and the downs, and if you're going to get a technical foul, you got to strategically do that thing, at certain times of the game, like at the end of the game and you're down by a bucket or what have you, that ain't necessarily the right time because the momentum's going to be short-lived. And if you have to sit out that next game, I don't know what the SWAC rules call for, when a coach is ejected, that sort of thing, whether or not he has to sit out the next game. You got to kind of consider all that, before you stick your mouth out there and step on it with your foot. So I mean, just something to think about. You don't lose two games for the sake of losing one. And they needed him that next game. So
and to your point, I don't know. I haven't seen anything released from the conference, but it was so animated. Yep, that word too. That that adjective. Dr. Scott, the AD, who was sitting right with Coach Banks, and he literally came down. If I'm not mistaken, he came down on the court side to try to calm him down. If I'm not mistaken, and he was hot as fish grease. He was hot.
And normally that is not Coach Jackson's personality. I honestly believe at this particular point that the way the season has kind of snowballed and kind of gotten out of control, it has really put pressure on his shoulders because in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, we should be better than what we are right now. And he's trying to find any way to fire up his team. And I have to agree with Wheeler. You don't lose one game. Get kicked out of one game, lose one to lose another one with the possibility of actually coming away with a win in the next game. You have to learn at some point that, hey, the other team may just be better, have a better game plan. They're doing everything right, and we just can't get it together. But this is just the first half of the season. So you don't want to just lose everything based on this because it could easily turn around. You just got to find a way to get some momentum going. You got to find a way to pick up a win, steal a win here and there. You got to play a lot tougher and a lot harder. Not that those guys at Grambling are not doing that, but you got to figure out a way to get these guys to play up to their capabilities without losing your cool because at the end of the day, guess what? It's only 5 games into the conference season. Just do like Aaron Rodgers, even though we probably don't like to mention his name, just relax. It's going to be all right. You can't lose it just because. And like you said, for the AD to have to come down to try to calm him down, that tells you that there's something else that's going on in the back of his mind that's causing him to be at this particular point in the basketball season. Because in 7 years, I've never seen him lose it like that.
And Carlos, you can say, well, the officials shouldn't have made a call at that particular time. And, from a coaching point of view, we all say that from a coaching point of view, you should swallow the whistle at certain points in time, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, a foul is a foul, and, to not have called that at that particular time would have been a bigger travesty than, what transpired after the call. I mean, if it's a foul, you got to call it. Officials got to do their jobs.
Absolutely.
So you can say, you should swallow the whistle. Uh, the last few seconds of the game, whatever happens, happens, that sort of thing. But if a foul is transpires, then you got to make the call.
Yeah, and again, like I said, in hour number one, me and my best friend, we were right there. It was a foul in our humble opinion, but you're right. If it wouldn't have been called, then somebody else might would have got tossed out of that game. Because, but Coach Johnson was smooth in the post game interview. He said he was more concentrated on his team. What are you going to say now? If I'm Coach Jackson, I'm an emotional person as well. I've been doing podcasts and radio. I've been emotional sometimes, and I've said things immediately after you say it, Austin. I probably shouldn't have said that. But you know what I would do? That next broadcast, I come back and say, I'm apologize. Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah. And so I was kind of looking to see if Coach Jackson was going to, release a statement or something. But he did not. I understand what happened. I understand the emotions got, and that's how I led the show off. But I did say he did make a mistake. And the game was pretty good. It was back and forth.
Back and forth.
Yeah. And so some people say, well, sometimes it's harder to lose a game on the last second shot or by 1 point than to get blown out by 20, Wheeler. I don't know about that one. A loss is still a loss. But,
yeah.
But
and I have to agree with you at some point that you have to allow a level of professionalism to come back into play, no matter how mad you are. The officials get paid to call the game. That's their job. Now, you may not like the call that they made, but that's what they get paid to do. And guess what? There's somebody else who's evaluating every single call that is going to be made at that basketball game, that they're going to have to go through a review process, and they're going to have to go through all of those different things. So you let the powers that be that handle those types of things, but come back and actually put yourself in a position where you let people know, hey, this was one of those times that I allowed myself to get out of character. And that's not something that we portray as coaches at this level or on any level. We shouldn't allow ourselves to get to that point. So you come back and you do the right thing. Even if you take it back to football season, you remember Coach Joseph had a tremendous blow up on the SWAC conference call when he made the statement that the officiating was, Toro poo-poo is what I will say here for the sake of our audience.
And he got fined for that, I'm thinking.
And he got fined tremendously. And the university made him come back and actually offer an apology for what he did. And sometimes you have to step forward and say, hey, guys, we still have to remember that we are the models for these young men that are coming in behind us. And what they see us do, they will eventually do. So we have to remember that, hey, we must do the right thing. That's what we teach. That's what we preach. That's what we practice. And that's what we do. That's what every game is teaching the right principles on the floor to come away with the win. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And so we have to teach, even when things are wrong, how to make things right.
And a lot of times we don't understand, guys, that officials talk too. They talk amongst each other, and the last thing you want as a coach is to have that bullseye on your back, because the officials throughout the conference now, they know you're a hothead or what have you, and the word is already out. I can get under Aussie Clark's skin, if this happens or that happens, that sort of thing. Or I ain't taking no crap off you today, Carlos Brown. When I walk in the door and you just seen me for the first time, but the word is already out there from past deeds, So I, as an official, already walk in there with a mindset. I ain't taking junk off Carlos today, so he better not say nothing to me because I'm going to run him up out of here real quick.
That's one of the reasons.
That's
one of the reasons why I started sitting in the crowd, because I had a referee. He was getting the ball, and he basically told me, you watch your mouth. Because I'm sitting courtside, and I didn't like some of the calls.
And I'll jump in real quick and tell you, do you all remember the year that Allen Iverson was playing tremendous basketball? He's playing lights out this particular year, and he had a blow up about the officials. And he went into about 4 games where the officials was just giving it to him. Like every game he would go in, and he was like, "Man, really, what's going on?" And he said he had to look at the guy and he said, "Okay, I get it, I understand." He said, "How long is this gonna last?" And sometimes, like Willa just said, officials talk. They will protect their own because they're on the same side. That's a brotherhood or a sisterhood that they have, a fraternity, sorority of officials that are there, and they're going to protect their own because at the end of the day, they're there to do the job that they are doing, and they're doing it to the best of their ability. Human error will always show up in any type of officiating or coaching or whatever we do. It's always going to show up. So the thing is, the one thing that we should have the memory to do is to have mercy on people because they do make mistakes. They do make bad calls, and they do things that look like it's in the heat of the moment or right then. Everything is in fast time. So what you may see may not be the same thing that I see. Different perspective, different ways of looking at it. But you have to remember that those guys and ladies get paid to call the game, and they're going to protect one another. And as a former basketball coach, let me tell you, I've been in some situations where I walked into some places and they've already said what you said, Wheeler. Hey, I ain't taking this tonight, Coach. And I'm talking about first quarter tip off, and early something like, oh my goodness, hey Coach, I've already heard enough. Like, wait a minute, I haven't even got loud yet, But you don't want to get to that point, and so they're already setting the tone. So the best thing that you can do as a coach is understand that you don't want to do anything that's going to cost your team later on down the line. You're still only 5 games into the season for the conference. Just
and Carlos, I tell this funny story. I used to coach JUCO basketball back in the 90s, that sort of thing. And I walked into this arena and got hosed. Told the coach afterwards, that, I really don't like these 3 guys that you have up here that are officiating, that sort of thing. Do you know the next 3 years that I visited that arena, you know who officiated that game?
Those 3 guys?
Same 3 guys. So I don't know where in the back of my mind that I thought that, I had some say-so. He wasn't going to bring those guys back anymore because Wheeler Brown said they weren't very good officials. Apparently they were very good officials for him.
Yeah.
Because every time I walked in the gym for my game, there they were. And they give me that look like, you so-and-so.
Yeah, you said it.
Here we are. We're back again.
Wow. And listen to you tell that story. You remember, God rest his soul, you remember John Chaney and Calipari? And he made that press conference. Oh, my goodness. He threaded out. And he was very emotional. You can't ask him now, but I wonder if he was still living, did he regret that? I don't know. Again, all I'm saying is I know we're emotional beings, and it can get the best of us. It really can, and that's why Coach Jackson, tremendous coach, very good coach. I don't think any less of him. I just think it was an emotional outburst that came at the wrong time. But when is a outburst a good time, huh?
That depends. Depends on who you ask. Depends on whether or not it's a good outburst or not. But most of the time, none of them are ever good. They're always at the wrong time. And worst case scenario is when those outbursts happen, you still have fans that are there, and they can make what's not supposed to be a bad situation even worse, because now they're feeding into the energy that you're putting out there. And so at any moment that you're actually coaching a game, an outburst could be bad at any moment. So you got to be very, very careful of your surroundings, because if I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm coaching Grambling, I can only imagine what it's like from the fans that's just trying to egg you on to make sure that you get that technical foul and get put out of this basketball game, because nothing would make them feel better than to see you leave exit stage left. So you got to remember, if you're defending a player on a play, maybe so, but if it's just something like a regular foul or common foul that's going on in the game, those are probably the ones that are the worst ones that you could possibly ever have.
I did leave out the part where I saw handkerchiefs waving in the crowd, you know, when Coach Jackson, and he did look up as he was being escorted out. But then a picture circulates on social media that he exited through the Gramblin's locker room, but he was still standing there at the end of the game. So you know, it's probably one of the, I don't know if I would say even the top 10 meltdowns in HBCU basketball, SWAC basketball, because I'm sure there are stories of some terrific meltdowns that happen. And you know, some coaches, they work the referees. You know, I don't get that call, but I'm working it where I can get that next call. You know, and I see Coach Johnson. He kind of lost it a little bit throughout the game. You know, but the difference is he went up and talked to the referee and was trying to say, "Look, can you look for this? This is what I'm seeing." And so that's
you're spoozing with the referee. Sometimes you're up here a little bit, and then when they come back down, you're saying, "Hey, man, all I'm really trying to tell you is, hey, watch this. I see something that's going on." So you're right. There's a place where that comes in where you can work the official to the point where you guys have a good enough rapport where you can kind of get away with some of the stuff. I've even been in positions, Carlos, while coaching, I'll even tell the official, if I knew that I was going to get a technical foul coming out in the second half, I just walk up to him and just tell him, "Hey, man, I'm telling you ahead of time, I'm probably going to get one. It's nothing personal. It's nothing personal to you. I'm just trying to do something with my team right now. I'm trying to show them that I'm fighting for them." That's a different set of circumstances where you're trying to do something to help the team get to a certain level of fire, or play to the better ability, show that you're standing up for them, that type of stuff. But when you're just having those emotional outbursts as a coach, those things can really come back to haunt you. And even if it doesn't haunt you like right now, if there's another job that's available that you might even try to apply for, those types of things can actually probably cost you greater, because people are saying, "Do we really want to take the risk of putting this on the floor? This guy who could be probably a great coach, but also could lose it at the same time." So it's one of those situations where you could cost yourself somewhere else down the road if you're not careful.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Coach Jackson, I forgive you. Again, huh?
All is forgiven. It's the ice under the snow right now. It's gone.
Yeah,
it's all gone now. So you don't have to worry about any of those things anymore. You just have to recover and keep moving forward. Don't stay stuck there. And if I was at church, I would tell you what the Apostle Paul says, "I forget those things which are behind me, and I press forward." And so right now, that should be the message to his team. Forget what happened in Baton Rouge. Forget what's been happening. Let's focus on these next games and win the ones that we know that we're supposed to win.
Good advice, Austin. Excellent advice. And as we 3 minutes left in today's show, we'll press forward. This basketball race will still continue. It's competitive on both sides, women and on the men's side. And, I talked about in hour number one, Southern's undefeated on the men's side, but there's still pressure. There is still pressure because you're off to a good start. You want to just be consistent. On the women's side, quiet as it kept, Southern University women, they're right there in striking distance. But you're absolutely right, and Willa and Charles and Coach Pettaway, it's still a lot of basketball left to be played. And win at home, take care of business at home, and play 500, split the games on the road. And if you can do a little bit better than that, it's going to be okay because as of now, the SWAC, along in the MEAC, and some other conferences, they're one bid leagues. So that's another set of pressure as well. You can do well and win the regular season, but you got to win the tournament. You got to win the tournament. Closing comments. Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, since you're bringing up the closing comments, with all 10 teams, how many teams do we have in the conference now? My mind evasion, is it 12?
12.
12. With all 12 teams in the conference tournament at this particular point, at any given moment, somebody can catch on fire. And so if you're one of those teams, you want to be playing better basketball going into the tournament, because all it takes is one game, and that one game could turn everything around, and you could be sitting in the NCAA tournament. So I would just tell any team that's out there, hey, just keep playing, keep pushing forward, because it can always turn around.
Willa, I'm gonna ask you a little. Go ahead quickly. We got under a minute. Go ahead.
One of the guys in the chat room was asking where I was traveling to, that sort of thing, because I'm always in the car. But I used to coach basketball at Wheeling Jesuit University in West Virginia, and one of the kids that I coached, he's now a high school coach at Indian Creek High School, which is down by Annapolis, Maryland. And so he had a makeup game this afternoon, and I'm going down there to watch his team. He's been a little losing streak here, so I figure I kind of surprise him and show up and maybe kind of give him a little spark, here and there, that sort of thing and stuff. So that's where I'm headed today in the chat room. The guy that wanted to know where I was headed in the chat room.
Well, not that you had to explain that, but good. Who's in the Super Bowl, Willa?
That's a good question. Kansas City, the usual suspect, and Philadelphia.
Want to thank everybody in the chat room for tuning in. Our producer extraordinaire, Miss Melody. I simply call her Mel. Aussie, Coach Pettaway, and Charles Edmond. Don't forget, like, subscribe, advertise with Black College Sports Network. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. As always, peace and God bless.